Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 7, 151 Great Spiritual Master, Zaihe. 7th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Medicinal herbs planted in immortal soil grow 100 times faster, their medicinal properties becoming even more potent. With the help of these 10 immortal haze-tainted herbs, Li Wei felt confident he could progress swiftly and smoothly through the 5 seas realm. As for the 3-colored spiritual soil, while it could accelerate growth tenfold, even after a decade, it would only add a century to the herb's age. After 10 years, Li Wei doubted he would even bother with a century-old precious medicine. Therefore, he decided to sell the spiritual soil and directly exchange it for the most needed medicinal pills and precious herbs. The powerful clans and ancient myriad sects, with their century-long and millennium-long development plans, would surely pay a high price for it. After making his decision, Li Wei used his psychic power to peel away the layers of blood mist at the edge of the blood-mud space. Suddenly, the vast Tanggu Sea came into view, with the Fusang divine tree growing at the sea's edge, radiating dazzling light. The scene before him resembled a magnificent natural painting. Zhenhai Guanwu had already emerged from Li Ling's body and was meditating at the bow of the spiritual artifact jade boat. Li Ling stood behind Li Wei, having witnessed this extraordinary and magnificent sight before, yet still felt her heart pounding with awe and shock. Together, she and Li Wei sat on the blood-mud floor and entered a meditative state. Both were absorbing the Fusang divine tree's radiant light to strengthen their spiritual light flames. The third eye spiritual realm, a square inch of space between Li Wei's eyebrows, was completely filled with bright flame, its cultivation long since perfected. Now, he continued to absorb particles of light, further condensing the bright flame in search of the final critical point. For 2 consecutive days, he remained in meditation, never leaving the blood-mud space or even his cabin. Yin Shi-san visited them several times at the stern, but finding the door tightly shut, he could only sigh and leave without knocking to avoid disturbing them. On this day, the sea erupted in a frenzy as the golden crow burst from the depths, its radiance instantly intensifying 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Li Wei felt a tremor in his brow, the pain growing more intense, and the barrier of his third eye spiritual realm showed signs of shifting. He didn't stop meditating, continuing to absorb the particles of light. This sensation was familiar, identical to the moment he had first opened his third eye spiritual realm. It was the prelude to a breakthrough. Half a day later, the pain in his brow reached its peak. The speed at which he absorbed the particles of light accelerated, until they coalesced into a river of light converging on his brow. Boom! The third eye spiritual realm, once a square inch in size, rapidly expanded, 10-fold, 20-fold. Growing larger and larger. The river of light surging toward his brow grew brighter, engulfing his entire body in flames, transforming him into a human torch. Gradually, the third eye spiritual realm expanded 1,000-fold, from a square inch to a square foot in size. The spiritual light flame, like a pile of burning firewood at the bottom of the spiritual realm, was several times hotter than the bright flame of a spiritual master. This was the Fang Kai Earth Flame realm. I've broken through to the great spiritual master. Li Wei stopped meditating, his heart pounding with excitement. His eyes, like 2 golden stars, shot out beams of light several feet long. He stood up, ignoring the flames burning on his body, and immediately charged toward the transparent, invisible spatial barrier between the blood-mud space and the Tanggu Sea. Zhenhai Guanwu and Li Ling stopped cultivating, and the soul shadows of his 3 masters also materialized. They had all been waiting for this moment. If Li Wei could break through the spatial barrier and reach the Tanggu Sea from the Shaoyang star, it would be of immense significance. This was a journey across vast distances, and it might one day allow him to travel to other realms. Whoosh! Li Wei pressed his hand, ablaze with the spiritual light flame, against the nearly transparent spatial barrier. Unlike before, he was no longer completely blocked. His fingers slowly pierced through. A bowl-sized hole appeared around his wrist. The humid, scorching wind unique to the Tanggu Sea gushed through the hole, carrying the sound of crashing waves that grew clearer with each passing moment. Li Wei's joy surged. A smile spread across his face as spiritual light poured from his third eye spiritual realm, tearing the hole wider and wider. The spatial rift reached the size of a basin and stopped expanding. In just a few breaths, Li Wei's spiritual light was heavily depleted. He retreated, and the spatial rift instantly closed. Li Ling asked, "Is this the largest space channel you can open?" Li Wei's face was flushed with excitement as he observed the now vast blood-mud space. He laughed heartily, "With my current psychic power cultivation, this is indeed the limit. But it's more than enough. In a moment, I'll open the space channel again. You use the spiritual light chain to pierce through it as quickly as possible and see if you can harvest 1 or 2 Zaihe flowers." An hour later. After 3 attempts, Li Ling successfully used the spiritual light chain, now over 10 meters long, to ensnare a fist-sized Zaihe flower. Before the space channel closed, she quickly pulled it into the blood-mud space. To think it's actually possible to reach across vast distances and retrieve an object. Even after personally participating, Li Ling's mind was still reeling. It was simply too incredible. The Zaihe flower before her had golden, crystal-clear petals and a rich fragrance. It lacked leaves, only long, white root tendrils. This Zaihe flower was considered small even by Tangusi standards. The massive blooms, some reaching over 10 meters in diameter, were far too large to pass through the narrow space channel Li Wei had opened. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors had already surrounded the Zaihe flower. They previously heard Zhenhai Guanwu saying that eating Zaihe would help them grow stronger. Zaihe had constantly absorbed the golden crow's flames for countless years, making its temperature terrifyingly high. Li Wei had prepared a silver tray to place it on, but the moment the flower landed, the tray hissed and began to melt. Li Wei immediately wrapped the flower in spiritual qi and tossed it onto the spiritual artifact jade boat. Is this it? It feels hotter than red-hot iron. Can this thing even be eaten? Zhenhai Guanwu glanced at Zaihe, which had fallen beside her. It wasn't meant for humans to eat in the first place. It's a sacred medicine of the demon race. If humans want to consume it, they must first refine it into a medicinal pill to remove its fire poison. Only then can they swallow it to strengthen their flesh and soul spirit. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors flew onto the spiritual artifact jade boat and circled Zaihe, hovering between wanting to eat it and fearing to. They pushed and shoved each other, each trying to get another moth to taste it first. Finally, the smallest but bravest of the group dove down and took a huge bite out of Zaihe's petals. Crack! A crisp cracking sound echoed as it bit off a piece about the size of half a fingernail. What's the rush? Let it cool down for a while. Li Wei tried to stop it, but it was too late. Hiss! The little creature burst into golden flames, transforming into a blazing fireball. It let out a series of strange screams as it leapt off the spiritual artifact jade boat and plunged headfirst into the blood mud. There, it rolled frantically, trying to extinguish the flames engulfing its body. But the golden flames burned from within, making them impossible to extinguish. Fortunately, despite its constant screams and frantic rolling, the creature showed no signs of being burned to death. Its vitality was remarkable. Even in its infancy, an emperor monarch grade rare insect possessed an extraordinary constitution. Zhenhai Guanwu said, Zaihe won't cool down naturally. If it did, it would mean it had lost her most valuable medicinal properties. Li Wei humbly asked, would Zaihe be considered a supreme yang essence? Could it heal someone with a jade-shattering ice-soul body? And since she's not purely human, with half-demon blood in her veins. Zhenhai Guanwu asked, who are you trying to heal? He's probably talking about Yaoyan, Li Ling said coldly. Li Wei, knowing what she was thinking, felt awkward. He was still figuring out how to describe his relationship with Yaoyan. I can only answer your question after I've met her and fully understood her condition, Zhenhai Guanwu replied, not taking the matter too seriously. Thank you. Li Wei sincerely thanked her. Everyone, including the other 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors, watched intently as the little creature, now engulfed in golden flames, continued to roll in the blood mud. As the golden flames gradually subsided, the phoenix-winged moth emperor's body visibly grew longer. Once the smallest, it suddenly became the largest. This was after just one bite. Its growth rate was terrifying. Swoosh! The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors rushed forward, vying to reach the spiritual artifact jade boat. Each pecked off a small piece of a petal and swallowed it. Immediately, the blood mud space filled with the phoenix-winged moth emperor's pained cries, echoing from all directions. The 7 small ones writhed in agony, rolling in the blood mud. After digesting the Zaihe within them, their bodies and power surged dramatically. They let out joyful cries and continued to devour the remaining petals. Then the pained cries and wails resumed. This cycle repeated until they had completely consumed the entire Zaihe. By then, the 7 small ones had grown to a length of 3 inches. This meant their cultivation had reached a level comparable to a martial mystic cultivator in the second realm of the 5 Seas realm. Of course, with their combat strength, they could now challenge ordinary martial mystic cultivators in the third realm of the 5 Seas realm. For the moment, they seemed unable to eat any more. They told Li Wei that their bodies felt like they were burning with spiritual light flame, causing excruciating pain. They needed to digest this fire poison first, so he should wait a while before harvesting more Zaihe. Someone's banging on the cabin door. I'll go see who it is. Li Ling, come with me. After some thought, Li Wei decided to bring the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors along, leaving Zhenhai Guanwu behind in the blood mud space. Back in the cabin, Li Wei quickly stowed the ghost banner and yin banner. Immediately, a torrent of sounds flooded his ears, knocking on doors, gongs clanging, running footsteps, startled cries. The entire ship was in chaos, with the upper and lower decks shaking and buzzing with commotion, punctuated by the wails of infants and children. He opened the door. Yin Shi-san, outside, was extremely anxious. He glanced at the 2 of them, who were still dressed fairly neatly, and said, enemy attack. It's the Night City Cavalry. We've already seen them. Li Wei gazed at the night sky behind Yin Shi-san, where countless fire crow cavalry soared above the river and in the air. The fire crows were enormous, their wings spanning 4 to 5 meters. Their feathers shimmered with azure flames, and they were equipped with saddles and armor protecting their vital areas. Each fire crow carried a black armored warrior, all brandishing long spears and exuding an aura of martial mystic prowess. The Night City cavalry comes and goes like the wind, often raiding on merchants. I never thought we'd be unlucky enough to encounter them. But don't worry. Stick close to me. If the ship's protective formation is breached, the 3 of us will escape together. Don't bother with the others on board, saving our own lives is the priority. Yin Shi-san added in a low voice, Junior brother, I have a spiritual artifact jade boat. It's incredibly fast. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 8 152 General Yuan. 8th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The shrill screams of fire ravens crows echoed from all directions, like the wails of vengeful ghosts from the heavens. Everyone on the ship trembled at the sound. At this section, the Shui River was over 300 yards wide, its waters flowing gently, making the ship feel as though it were sailing on a tranquil lake. Suddenly, the weather turned bitterly cold. A faint mist rose from the river's surface, while the shore was shrouded in darkness, an endless expanse of rolling hills. The ship was forced to halt. The 3 water lion beasts pulling the vessel had already been shot down, their corpses floating on the water, their blood staining the river crimson. The ship's 100-pattern defense formation had long been activated. Over 100 formation scriptures floated in the air, forming a glowing sphere that completely enveloped the 70-yard-long, 3-story ship. Li Wei stood at the railing of the first-floor corridor, observing the Night City cavalry on the river. Numbering nearly 300, they surrounded the ship from all sides, continuously raining down arrows and spitting fireballs against the ship's defense formation. Boom! The fireballs, spewed from the mouths of the fire raven mounts, were incredibly powerful. They struck the formation's light barrier, instantly exploding into fire clouds several yards wide. The entire protective shield was nearly engulfed in flames. Li Wei felt as if he were standing amidst 1,000 troops and 10,000 horses, the crushing weight of death pressing down from all sides. He said solemnly, no negotiations. Logically, these barbarian bandits should primarily be after wealth. If we're pushed to the brink and forced to fight to the death, their losses won't be small either. Yin Shi-san replied, normally, handing over some of our wealth would have been sufficient. We've dealt with this before. But this time is different. This Night City cavalry has likely been tracking us since we entered Ji Prefecture. They know there are many young, beautiful women aboard. They're here to capture and annihilate us completely. In the past, encountering 100 Night City cavalry would have been considered a large-scale raid. This time, there are nearly 300 riders. Based on the Fire Crow cavalry's ratio of 1/5 Seas Realm expert for every 10 riders, there are likely close to 35 Seas Realm experts among them. Yin Shi-san then informed Li Wei that the Fire Crow cavalry was the elite of Night City's elite, specializing in raiding merchant caravans and wealthy towns to gather military supplies and funding. Their path through the southern territory's 3 prefectures left nothing but scorched earth in its wake. Anyone who crossed their path was doomed. Countless 5 Seas Realm martial cultivators had been hunted down and killed by them. There aren't any Dao Seed Realm experts among this Fire Crow cavalry, are there? Li Wei had been carefully observing and sensing the enemy's true strength. Impossible. Dao Seed Realm experts are almost all first-class figures. If someone of that caliber were to arrive, they could shatter our ship protection formation with a single punch. Yin Shi-san, who is well versed in all matters under heaven and knew the southern territory's top experts like the back of his hand, pointed at a giant, 3-headed fire raven in the night sky. That's the commander of this Fire Crow cavalry, Yuan Chao, a veteran 5th stage 5 Seas Realm expert with a 60-year reputation for ruthlessness in the southern territory. Li Wei asked, Senior brother Shi-san, what's your cultivation level? 4th stage of the 5 Seas Realm, Yin Shi-san replied honestly. Li Wei knew that the hidden ones of the hidden sect were all 9 Springs Supremes, with combat prowess that ranked among the best in their tier, even capable of defying cultivation levels to defeat opponents. Yin Shi-san caught the implication in Li Wei's question and turned to him, his expression shifting, you're not thinking of tangling with this Night City cavalry, are you? Li Wei said, this Night City cavalry is vast and powerful, with most members at the 6 Springs or 7 Springs level. Yet they clearly don't take us seriously, as they haven't even formed a battle formation. Because they don't need to, Yin Shi-san explained, 35th stage 5 Seas Realm experts are bearing down on us. Yuan Chao doesn't even need to lift a finger, we'll be wiped out completely. And if things go awry, the Fire Crows' aerial agility allows them to form a battle formation in an instant. Wei, you're not letting your compassion get the better of you, are you? Yin Shi-san asked. Yes, there are many children on board, even infants. If we flee, they're doomed. But their lives aren't even that important to their own father. Why should we risk our lives for them? Tonight's situation is already beyond our capabilities. Li Wei replied, there has to be a right and wrong, doesn't there? Yin Shi-san was stunned. Li Wei continued, though tonight's situation is dangerous, it's not impossible to fight. Li Ling, the day Chen Lian chased us, you asked if we should ambush him, or should we fight him? I said the risk was too great, that it wasn't a life or death situation, so we kept running. Why are you willing to fight today, when you weren't then? Li Ling already knew the answer, but she asked anyway. Because that day, fighting would have been nothing more than a matter of pride. Today, I'm fighting for what I believe in. Humans must have some compassion. Cultivators must have a sense of responsibility. Li Wei silently calculated the possibilities of breaking through the enemy lines. He added, these barbarian bandits burn, kill, and plunders, leaving nothing but desolation and corpses in their path. Since we've encountered them, even if we have to flee, I'll make them pay a price first. Li Ling greatly admired the fighting spirit and warmth of humanity radiating from Li Wei. She wholeheartedly agreed, I'll help you. Yin Shi-san was moved by Li Wei's determination and saw the courage and responsibility of a divine hidden one in him. However, unsure of his true strength, he ultimately conceded, all right, but if I call for retreat, we must leave immediately. Agreed. We'll do our best and leave the rest to fate, Li Wei nodded. The three of them headed to the ship's bow. As great spiritual masters, Li Wei and Li Ling simultaneously channeled their spiritual light flames into the formation technique's central point. Instantly, the 100+ formation scriptures of the ship protection formation burst forth with even brighter radiance than before. Under immense pressure, Commander Wu Jiaonan dispatched his only 3 subordinates in the 5 seas realm to various positions on the ship to maintain order, manage the chaos, and reassure the crew. No wonder they're secret agents from the attendant hall, both are great spiritual masters, Wu Jiaonan murmured in admiration, then turned his gaze to Yin Shi-san and transmitted privately, the Fire Crow cavalry are formidable. We stand no chance against them. Once the formation breaks, we must join forces to break through their encirclement and escape. What do you say? We've been caught in this mess through no fault of our own. There's no need to risk our lives for those officials' concubines and their families. Yin Shi-san's expression turned grim. He snorted coldly, Commander, how can you say such things? A man must have some humanity, some sense of principle and responsibility. If you want to flee, then go. As for this Chen, I will fight to my last drop of blood. Wu Jiaonan hadn't expected the other man to be so stubborn. He forced a smile. With Clerk Chen's words, I'm reassured. The Fire Crow cavalry has surrounded this place completely. How could we possibly escape? Our only chance is to fight to the death. Standing atop a 3-headed Fire Crow, Yuan Chao was an aberrant humanoid with a green-faced tiger head. He stood 4 meters tall, clad in full armor, and wielded a spear that was nearly 7 meters long. His aura was overwhelming, like that of a demon. Seeing the ship protection formation's light grow brighter, indicating it would be difficult to break through quickly, he snorted, all 5 seas realm experts, obey my command. Join me in attacking the formation. Leave no male alive on the ship. Seize all the female captives and divide the resources and treasures among yourselves. We swear to follow General Yuan to the death. The war chant shook the heavens. The morale of the Fire Crow cavalry instantly soared to its peak. Nearly 30 riders surged forward, each radiating martial mystic prowess, their spiritual chi swirling around them like clouds. Their spears shot forth brilliant battle auras. Yuan Chao mobilized all his strength and hurled his spear. The spear blazed like a radiant pillar of light, tearing through the night sky with a piercing whistle before crashing into the ship protection formation's barrier. The barrier buckled violently, teetering on the brink of collapse. Nearly 30 more spears, hurled by nearly 35 seas realm martial mystic cultivators, followed suit. Boom. Rumble. How could the 100-pattern defense formation withstand the combined attacks of dozens of 5 seas realm experts? After just one wave, the protective barrier shattered. More than a dozen spears rained down from the sky, some piercing the ship's hull, sending wood splinters flying. Others pierced the armor of the guards, passing through their bodies, leaving blood pooling on the deck. Ha ha ha. Kill them all, leave none alive. Whoever gets the loot, keeps it. Outside, the sounds of battle chants, whistles, and the screeches of fire ravens filled the air as the attackers swarmed the ship. On board, a group of highly strung family members could no longer contain their fear, and cries of terror erupted. They huddled in rooms, embracing each other and trembling. Only those with decent cultivation stood alongside the guards, battle weapons in hand, facing the onslaught. Yuan Chao swept his arm, unleashing a river of spiritual chi that swept the spears embedded in the ship back toward him. Then, riding a 3-headed fire crow nearly 8 meters long, he charged toward Wu Jiaonan at the ship's bow. Strong cultivators are naturally drawn to each other, and Yuan Chao had long targeted the guard commander. A bright cyan light flared in the three-headed fire crow's throat as it spewed a torrent of cyan flames, igniting the wooden hull and revealing the steel structure beneath. The cyan flames cascaded forward, engulfing Wu Jiaonan. Wu Jiaonan met the threat head-on, summoning a 2-jong tall battle-intent figure to block the cyan flames. He swung his battle saber, sending a 10-meter-long arc of blade light arcing upward. PFF'd. The armor on the three-headed fire crow's abdomen shattered, gushing blood. It let out a mournful cry and immediately fled. Daring to injure my mount. You're courting death. Yuan Chao roared in fury, leaping from the fire crow's back. His spiritual chi surged like a vast ocean within him. A spear of light, as bright as a pillar of fire, descended from the sky, its battle intent locking onto Wu Jiaonan. The spear's tip unleashed a torrent of destructive energy. Wu Jiaonan raised his blade to meet the attack. The moment their weapons clashed, he knew he was in trouble. The force behind Yuan Chao's strike felt like a mountain range crashing down upon him. Boom. The deck beneath their feet couldn't withstand the impact and shattered, leaving a gaping hole. Wu Jiaonan coughed up blood and plummeted into the ship's lower decks. Yuan Chao followed with a flash. Yin Shi-san and Li Weiyi exchanged a glance before shouting, "Commander Wu, Chen Chuan is here to lend you a hand." Yin Shi-san leapt through the hole in the deck, unleashing his battle intent and striking at Yuan Chao with a palm strike. Wu Jiaonan knew escaping today was a futile fantasy, he had been targeted by Yuan Chao long ago. Fortunately, Clerk Chen, his reliable companion, was willing to fight to the death. He couldn't imagine how dire their situation would be if he had been paired with a cowardly partner. "Clerk Chen, you're a true man." Wu Jiaonan roared, charging forward with his blade. The ship had already descended into chaos, flames raging everywhere. The Fire Crow cavalry dismounted their ravens and surged onto the ship's decks like a tide, slaughtering guards and tossing their bodies into the river below. Boom. A Fire Crow cavalry soldier kicked open the door to a cabin, unleashing a chorus of screams and wails that shook the heavens. Li Ling flicked a burning spiritual light chain from her fingertip, dragging the infiltrators out and tossing them into the icy river. The chain had already crushed their throat during the extraction, leaving them a lifeless corpse. Li Weiyi, wielding the yellow dragon sword, lopped off the head of a 5 Seas Realm cavalryman. His eyes scanned the battlefield as he charged toward the next opponent. Only half of the Fire Crow cavalry had boarded the ship, but all the 5th Seas Realm experts were among them. The soldiers outside were leaderless and disorganized, only held back from swarming the ship by the limited space on board. Instead, they focused on killing those who jumped into the river to escape. They're too complacent. Barbarian bandits will always be barbarian bandits, no match for a true regular army. Li Weiyi's confidence surged. He decisively released the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, ordering them to attack with full force. If the Fire Crow cavalry outside attempted to form a battle formation, he instructed them to break it immediately. This was Li Weiyi's trump card. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 9, 153, Victory. 9th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, each with combat power comparable to a third-stage martial mystic cultivator in the 5 Seas realm, were truly valuable on the battlefield, aside for harvesting ordinary soldiers on a massive scale. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors found Li Weiyi's constant nagging irritating. Just a bunch of small fry, they thought. Why be so cautious? Their bodies were brimming with fiery energy and vitality, and they were eager to unleash it. Ignoring Li Weiyi's unfinished instructions, they transformed into 7 streaks of light and charged towards the Fire Crow cavalry flying over the river and through the air. Li Weiyi didn't even have time to formulate a strategy. He desperately wanted to shout, "Kill the mounts first. There's an insect tamer. Be careful. That ghost masked man just cut down 2 of our 5 Seas realm experts." The sounds of running and wind breaking grew rapidly closer. Li Weiyi was targeted by 4 5 Seas realm experts from the Fire Crow cavalry, who charged at him from 4 different directions, 2 from the first ship's tower and 2 from the second. 2 were in the 3rd stage of the 5 Seas realm, and 2 were in the 2nd stage. These were among the top experts in the Fire Crow army, second only to Yuan Chao. On the 3rd deck of the warship, the Fire Crow cavalry's 5 Seas realm experts focused their attacks. 10 of them leapt down to both ends of the corridor, forming a pincer attack. Madame Shui's status was truly extraordinary. Protected by 3 5 Seas realm experts, she clashed fiercely with the 10 Fire Crow cavalry members. The spiritual chi energy unleashed shattered railings, wooden walls, and screens, even tearing off the roof in 10-foot sections. In the main hall at the center, a 3-finger-wide crack opened in the window. Zhang Ning stood behind it, constantly scanning the night sky for more Fire Crow cavalry, fearing hidden experts lurking in the darkness. Hearing the constant sounds of flesh tearing and screams outside, Zhuang Yu urged anxiously, "Miss, it doesn't seem like Yuan Tujun and his men are pursuing us." We've encountered a group of barbarian bandits from Night City attempting to plunder the merchant ship. Should we intervene or flee immediately? Whether we fight or flee, our tracks will be exposed, and we'll soon attract even stronger enemies, Zhang Ning replied, her eyes fixed on the scene outside. Suddenly, her delicate eyebrows furrowed in surprise, and she let out a soft gasp. It's those 7 little ones. What are they doing on the ship? Xuanhuan peered out the window. She saw 2 of the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors soaring through the air, their wings leaving trails of light as they darted through the fire crow cavalry. Wherever they passed, blood splattered, and corpses tumbled from the fire crows' backs. Plop. Plop. The corpse plunged into the water, and the splashing never ceased. Without the support of a battle formation, the soldiers of the Spring Surge realm stood no chance. Xuanhuan stared in disbelief, then exclaimed joyfully, I knew Sima Qin hadn't died in 33 Li Mountain. He's definitely the one who robbed the 4 great sects in Heavenly Cliff Ridge. Sima Qin joined the Zhuoqiu sect's expedition into 33 Li Mountain but never returned. Many cultivators speculated that he had either perished in the mountain or fled with a vast fortune, making him the true mastermind behind the crimes. You seem particularly pleased, Zhang Ning observed calmly, her beautiful eyes betraying no emotion. Xuanhuan chuckled, I'm happy for Miss. You went to Burial Immortal Town seeking immortal soil but found nothing. But Sima Qin must have some. Boom. The door shattered under a single punch. The force of the blow, along with fragments of the door, surged into the room, rattling the walls and shaking the windows. A 5 Seas realm soldier charged in, his eyes widening in astonishment at the sight of Zhang Ning and Xuanhuan by the window. After a moment of stunned silence, he shouted, there are 2 pure immortal physique women here. Everyone, come quickly. Notified General Yuan. Xuanhuan blurred into motion, darting forward and striking with a single finger. A bloody hole instantly appeared in the 5 Seas realm soldier's forehead. His body flew backward through the broken door, crashing through the railing and plunging into the water below. Xuanhuan drew her spiritual artifact battle sword and charged into the corridor. Shortly after being pursued by Shi in Burial Immortal Town, she had consumed the immortal haze-tainted herb, opening her 4th Qi and breaking through to the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm. None of the 5 Seas realm's soldiers outside could even withstand her second strike. Li Wei remained unfazed as 4 experts from the 5 Seas realm approached from all directions. He first hurled the mid-grade spiritual artifact, the Iron Book, which transformed into a rain of flying pages that struck the 3rd stage of the 5 Seas realm soldier charging from the left side of the 1st level ship's tower. The mid-grade spiritual artifact, the Jade Bracelet, spun through the air and flew toward the 3rd stage of the 5 Seas realm soldier rushing from the right side of the 1st level ship's tower. Swish. After pinning down the 2 soldiers, Li Wei leapt into the air, unleashing a full-powered sword strike against a 2nd stage of the 5 Seas realm soldier who had jumped down from the 2nd level ship's tower. Sword chi blazed brightly, the sword light splitting into over a dozen phantom images. The 2nd stage of the 5 Seas realm soldier was overwhelmed by the illusion of countless sword strikes. Terrified, he frantically channeled his spiritual chi to activate the armor protecting his body. With a thwack, the yellow dragon sword slashed diagonally downward, cleaving both the armor and the soldier in 2. The other 2nd stage of the 5 Seas realm soldier had already thrust his spear toward Li Wei's face. Li Wei activated the spirit treasure seizing technique, raising his hand to grasp the spear. With a twist of his wrist, a surge of immense force coursed through the spear, sending the 2nd stage of the 5 Seas realm soldier spinning uncontrollably. Li Wei then swung his sword, severing the soldier in half at the waist. In a single exchange, 2 experts at the 5 Seas realm were slain without a chance to fight back. To any observer, Li Wei exuded the aura of a true master, calm demeanor, fluid movements, and effortless strikes. The 2/3 stage of the 5 Seas realm soldiers, after blasting away the Iron Book and Jade Bracelet, immediately unleashed their 10-foot-tall humanoid battle technique intent. Their battle prowess surged, transforming them into 2 peerless war gods. Their coordination was flawless, their teamwork impeccable, easily capable of challenging a 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm expert. One soldier wielded a spear, slashing and thrusting with relentless force, denying Li Wei any chance to land. The other soldier struck like lightning, the spearhead erupting in flames that tore through the air with a deafening crack. Li Wei wanted to end the fight quickly, but he dared not underestimate his opponents. A dragon-patterned light shimmered beneath his feet, and in an astonishing feat of agility, he leapt several dozen feet into the air, evading the soldiers' attacks. He then flipped upside down, executing the Rui Chenkan sword technique. The yellow dragon sword clashed with the 2 spears with a resounding clang, sending out concentric waves of powerful energy. The instant his feet touched the ground, Li Wei slashed horizontally at one of the soldiers. The 3rd stage martial mystic cultivator of the 5 Seas realm immediately retreated a step, planting his spear as a pillar to defend. Bang! The yellow dragon sword was unstoppable, cleaving through the spear. Its tip grazed his abdominal armor, slicing through it cleanly. Blood immediately gushed from the gaps in his armor. What grade of battle sword is this? The third stage martial mystic cultivator of the Five Seas realm had never seen such a sharp, formidable weapon. All thoughts of battle vanished, and he hastily stepped onto a cloud of spiritual qi, diving towards the Shui River below. You won't escape. Li Wei swung his sword from afar, unleashing the Tai opens the sea technique, as if to cleave the Shui River itself. A sword qi in the form of a yellow dragon shot out over 30 meters, striking the back of the martial mystic cultivator's head and neck. The sound of bone shattering echoed as his head slumped forward the instant his feet touched the water's surface. He plunged into the river and never resurfaced. Seizing the opportunity, another third-stage martial mystic cultivator of the Five Seas realm leapt onto a passing fire crow, shouting at the top of his lungs, "There's a fourth-stage powerhouse of the Five Seas realm at the bow. All Five Seas realm experts of the Fire Crow Cavalry, assemble and hunt him down with me." Bang! A phoenix-winged moth emperor launched a surprise attack, swooping in from behind. Sensing danger, the martial mystic cultivator had just turned around when he was knocked off the fire crow's back by the impact, plummeting towards the warship. Li Wei, wearing windriding boots, moved like a gust of wind between the railings of the warship. He casually grabbed a spear embedded in the wall and thrust it at the third stage of the Five Seas realm soldier who had been knocked down by a phoenix-winged moth emperor. The soldier, aware of Li Wei's prowess, slapped the ship's hull with his palm, spinning to dodge the attack. The spear pierced through his legs, the second deck's floor, and embedded itself deep within. Li Wei swung his right hand, and the yellow dragon sword traced a brilliant circle of light, trapping the soldier within. After several rounds of fierce combat, the third stage of the Five Seas realm soldier was forced to fight desperately. Ultimately, he was pierced through the heart by a sword strike and plunged into the Shui River with a splash. Li Wei stood suspended in midair, his foot planted on the spear lodged in the ship, surveying the battlefield. He saw that the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors were wreaking havoc among the Fire Crow Cavalry, moving through them as if they were invisible. In a short time, nearly half of the Fire Crow Cavalry on the river and in the sky had been killed or wounded. The scene was utterly brutal. Under the relentless attacks of the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, Li Wei's worries proved entirely unnecessary. The Fire Crow Cavalry hadn't even managed to form a battle formation. If they hadn't been waiting for Yuan Chao's retreat order, they would have already scattered like birds and beasts. On the third deck of the ship's tower, the screams of Fire Crow Cavalry masters echoed as they plummeted to the deck below. They had encountered a formidable opponent, their armor shattered by the force of the attacks. There's a fourth stage of the Five Seas realm pure immortal physique expert on the third deck. Form a military formation immediately. A Five Seas realm soldier let out a sharp, urgent whistle, summoning dozens of fire crows circling in the air. He prepared to organize troops for a coordinated attack. Li Wei planted his foot on a spear and launched himself forward, colliding with the Five Seas realm soldier. The two men tumbled together, crashing through a wall and into a room. Boom. Li Wei had been refining his bones with golden spring energy, granting him extraordinary physical strength. A single punch to the soldier's face caved in his facial bones, distorting his entire head. Standing up, Li Wei delivered another sword strike before leaving the room. The Fire Crow Cavalry on the ship had already sensed something was amiss. The soldiers on the Fire Crows in midair were being decimated by fierce insects, and the Five Seas realm leaders on the ship were falling one after another. There was something wrong with this ship. The number of top-tier experts far exceeded their expectations. Soldiers began to flee, leaping onto Fire Crows, triggering a chain reaction. Li Wei moved with lightning speed, leaping several times before landing on the third-level ship's tower. There, he saw Zhuang Yu, her face veiled. It was no surprise, he had sensed her power from below. Zhuang Yu's robes were soaked in blood. She had just run a sword through the last Five Seas realm soldier. Turning, she faced Li Wei, the ghost masked man. Her usual disdain for all men softened into a smile that spread across her large eyes. But the smile quickly froze. Li Wei turned and descended the tower, charging toward Li Ling's location. Boom. The entire bow of the ship was nearly shattered, leaving only its internal steel skeleton. Yuan Chao, Yin Shi-san, and Wu Jiaonan, who had been locked in combat in the cabin below the deck, burst out one after another, taking up positions in 3 different directions. Wu Jiaonan was severely wounded, blood gushing from his mouth and nose. His armor was tattered and torn. Yin Shi-san's face was slightly pale, his robes shredded like rags, revealing his white belly in a rather disheveled state. Yuan Chao's massive tiger head bore a bloody claw mark that exposed the skull beneath, a wound inflicted by Yin Shi-san's claw strike. All 3 were stunned by the battle unfolding on the ship, which was completely different from what they had expected. Despite his grievous injuries, Wu Jiaonan burst into wild laughter, his spirits soaring. Excellent. Today, Wu Jiaonan is utterly humbled by Chief Clerk Chen. So you were prepared all along. No wonder you weren't afraid of this Yuan Chao. Yin Shi-san had also never anticipated such a turn of events. Li Wei had actually pulled off a victory. The sense of accomplishment was overwhelming. He chuckled modestly. Well, barbarian bandits will always be barbarian bandits. They'll never rise to true greatness. Li Wei didn't bother joining the crowd at the ship's bow. With Xuanhuan and Zhang Ning already there was no need for a first stage of the Five Seas Realm martial mystic cultivator like him to get involved in a fight against a fifth layer of the Five Seas Realm expert. Still, he felt a pang of annoyance. Why did he keep running into her? Their fate seemed almost too strong. He met up with Li Ling. Don't bother chasing those fleeing Fire Crow cavalry. Quickly draw beast scriptures to control some of the Fire Crow mounts. Both were great spiritual masters, so drawing beast scriptures was second nature to them. They continuously fired spiritual light scriptures, which landed on the Fire Crows circling the warship. Yuan Chao couldn't believe he had suffered such a crushing defeat today. He glared at the two figures across from him and roared, "Retreat. We'll meet again. This isn't over." Yuan Chao summoned the three-headed Fire Crow, preparing to leap onto its back. Swish. A bright sword chi descended from above, cleaving the massive Fire Crow in two. Fire Crow flames rained down on Yuan Chao. Xuanhuan stood on the third level of the ship's tower, her skin appearing even more fair and translucent under the glow of spiritual chi. Her spiritual artifact battle sword pointed down at Yuan Chao below. "It's you," he said. Yuan Chao had seen portraits of Xuanhuan and Zhang Ning. He recognized her instantly from her features, the very Phoenix Terrace member the young city lord had ordered to be hunted down. Excellent. If he could bring back this news, he could redeem himself for today's failure. Yuan Chao stepped onto a cloud of spiritual chi, leapt off the ship, and fled across the riverbank. Swish. Xuanhuan leapt from the third level of the ship's tower. Her body paused and accelerated several times in midair before she landed on the river's surface, like a celestial maiden descending from the heavens. With her sword held high, she plunged it toward Yuan Chao's back. Yuan Chao dared not meet the blow head-on. He shifted his body, dodging the vital points, and clawed at Xuanhuan's wrist. Swish. Splash. Their forms blurred as they exchanged over a dozen blows. Finally, they clashed with a powerful strike, shattering the water's surface and scattering spiritual chi energy in all directions. Xuanhuan was forced back 10 yards. A bloody gash appeared on Yuan Chao's cheek, sending him staggering back 10 yards. Yin Shi-san and Wu Jiaonan exchanged a glance and darted forward, intending to join Xuanhuan in taking down Yuan Chao. Swish, swish. A piercing sound of rushing wind filled the air. From the main hall on the third level of the ship's tower, dozens of pure white spiritual chi feathers shot forth like lightning, their serpentine paths striking Yuan Chao. Yuan Chao immediately activated his battle technique intent and unleashed a furious punch. Crack, crack. His fist, along with the armor on his arm, shattered under the impact of the white spiritual chi feathers. His entire arm was left bloody, reduced to bone. Some feathers pierced directly through his chest armor, exiting his back. Yuan Chao plunged into the water and quickly sank to the bottom. Xuanhuan tried to follow up with a sword strike, but it was too late. Yin Shi-san and Wu Jiaonan were stunned. They had never imagined such an immortal was hiding on the ship. After fighting for so long, they couldn't even break Yuan Chao's armor, yet someone else had pierced it with a single feather condensed from spiritual chi. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 10 154 Farewell. 10th of Volume 3. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. The Fire Crow cavalry had charged in with murderous intent, but less than 100 riders managed to escape. The water turned crimson. Corpses drifted away with the river current. The fire on the ship had been extinguished, but the hull was in tatters, barely afloat. Zhang Ning appeared, standing like a celestial maiden on the third-tier deckhouse. Her voice, clear and melodious, echoed through the air. Everyone, once the Night City barbarian raiders retreat, they will undoubtedly return with a large army and powerful experts to seek revenge. I estimate they will be back within 2 hours. By then, everything will be reduced to ashes. The joy that had filled the ship after their victory was instantly extinguished, replaced by renewed panic. Zhang Ning's public appearance meant she no longer intended to conceal her identity. Clerk Chen, Commander Wu, shall we discuss this together? And what about the secret agents from the attendant hall? Her gaze fell on Li Ling and Li Wei. Li Ling looked to Li Wei, deferring to his judgment. Li Wei had intended to recall the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, but the 7 little creatures had instead flown directly to the third-tier deckhouse and landed on Zhang Ning, nuzzling her affectionately. Rebellious whelps. 7 rebellious whelps. The group soon gathered in the main hall of the third-tier deckhouse. Zhang Ning's captivating immortal form and jade-like beauty were shrouded in a hazy, ethereal glow of spiritual chi. Continue forward, she said, her voice soft and melodic, and you'll reach Huju City, the territory under imperial control, in just 300 miles. But the water lion beasts pulling our ship have been slain. Sailing against the current, we won't make much headway. The Night City barbarian raiders will soon catch up. Yin Shi-san chuckled. We'll follow the envoy's plan. Wu Jiaonan, upon learning Zhang Ning's true identity as the Phoenix Luan Terrace envoy, became exceedingly respectful, immediately chiming in with flattery. Zhang Ning turned to Li Wei, who still wore his ghost mask. When the formation broke earlier, the secret agent Sima didn't flee. He stayed to fight alongside us, clearly intending to save lives. In this dire situation, we have two choices, stay and die together, or evacuate a select few with decent martial mystic path cultivation. All or a few, which do you choose? Envy flickered in Wu Jiaonan's eyes. He saw that the secret agent Sima had caught the Phoenix Terrace envoy's attention, guaranteeing a bright future. He couldn't help but envy him. Even just the title of insect tamer alone could propel him to great heights. It doesn't have to be an either-or choice. Li Wei said, if we leave, we can all go together, but we must cooperate. Everyone present froze, suspecting he was speaking out of momentary bravado, forgetting that reality often demands compromise. Zhang Ning said, tell us your plan. Li Wei replied, everyone here is an official of the court and should possess a spiritual jade boat, right? How many do we have in total? I have one mid-grade spiritual artifact jade boat that can travel 1,800 miles a day and squeeze in 10 people. But reaching Huju City within 2 hours would be a stretch, Yin Shi-san said, producing a delicate 4-inch-long miniature boat. Wu Jiaonan added, my spiritual jade boat is similar to Clerk Chen's. Zhuangyu said, mine is a high-grade spiritual artifact and can barely carry 20 people. I have a 100-word scripture spiritual artifact jade boat that can carry 60 or 70 people at its limit, Zhang Ning said. But secret agent Sima, that's still far from enough to evacuate everyone, and the time is too tight. If the Night City barbarian raiders catch up, wouldn't all our efforts be in vain? Li Wei spoke rapidly. We'll proceed in 3 steps. First, all those with cultivation above 6 springs will disembark and travel on foot. Their speed should get them to Huju City in no time. Moreover, they're not the Night City barbarian raiders' primary targets, making it easier for them to slip away under cover of darkness. Second, 2 of us have already used beast scriptures to control about 50 fire ravens. They can easily carry 200 people. Third, I'll arrange for 2 fire ravens to pull this abandoned ship down the Sui River, creating the illusion that we're escaping downstream. This should buy us at least half an hour. If you want to save them, act now. But as a noble envoy, your life is precious. Would you really risk it for a group of people who aren't worth the danger? Zhuangyu retorted, don't underestimate her. Do you think my lady hasn't thought of a plan? She was just testing you. With his hands clasped behind his back, Zhang Ning led the way out of the main hall, gazing at the vast, misty river. What's worth it or not? If the world were governed solely by profit and loss, what a wretched place it would be. Let's move. The 3-story ship, ablaze with lights, sped downstream, pulled by 2 fire ravens. In reality, the ship was already deserted. 4 spiritual jade boats, like white arrows of varying sizes against the night sky, cut through the waves, heading toward Huju City, 300 miles away. Nearly 50 fire ravens, controlled by Li Wei and Li Ling's spiritual power, carried people across the river's surface. Li Wei sat atop one of the fire ravens, and he couldn't help but wonder if it was worth it. Perhaps, as Zhang Ning said, profit and loss shouldn't be the only guiding principle in life. Right and wrong were clear before him, how could he turn a blind eye? Want to come down and talk? Zhang Ning's voice, carried by a wisp of spiritual qi, entered Li Wei's ear. Li Wei looked down at the massive spiritual jade boat below. The vessel was enveloped in hundreds of complex and profound scriptures, carrying numerous women, children, and infants. Spiritual artifacts are classified as low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade. Beyond that, they are categorized as 100 scriptures spiritual artifacts, 1,000 scriptures spiritual artifacts, and 10,000 scriptures spiritual artifacts. The more scriptures inscribed within, the more powerful the spiritual artifact becomes. However, for martial mystic cultivators at lower realms, a more powerful spiritual artifact isn't necessarily better. Activating the scriptures consumes a vast amount of spiritual qi, potentially draining their entire qi in a single strike. High-grade spiritual artifacts already contain scriptures, but the number is insufficient to reach 100. Each 100 scriptures spiritual artifact is priceless, and even Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators don't all possess one. Take Zhang Ning's spiritual jade boat, for example, it can travel 4,000 miles a day and even fly. Yet, even with her cultivation, controlling the spiritual jade boat's flight would rapidly deplete her spiritual qi. This was her last resort, a life-or-death escape treasure. Li Wei leapt from the fire raven and gracefully landed on the 100 scripture spiritual artifact jade boat. Space on the ship was limited. Beside Zhang Ning at the bow, there was only a 3-foot patch of standing room. Li Wei sat down beside her with casual grace, his legs dangling over the side. Zhang Ning sat cross-legged, part of her long skirt pinned beneath Li Wei. She ignored it and asked, "What's your name?" Li Wei saw no reason to hide it. Li Wei. "That's a better name than Sima Qin," Zhang Ning said, "but impersonating a secret agent of the attendant hall is a serious crime. As a Phoenix Terrace envoy, it would be perfectly legal for me to kill you." Chen Chuan wouldn't escape either. At the very least, he'd be thrown in prison and exiled to military service. So close, the fragrance of her black hair wafted over, transporting him to a celestial realm where he forgot the passage of time. But Li Wei remained calm. "With your cultivation as an envoy, if you truly intended to do that, we wouldn't stand a chance. Do you think Zhang Ning is that kind of person?" Zhang Ning asked. Li Wei smiled. "Not really. But it's hard to say for sure. After all, if you killed me, those 7 little ones would be all yours. Compared to them, I value you more." Zhang Ning turned her head slightly. Her veiled immortal beauty, from her delicate eyebrows and bright eyes to her lustrous skin and hair, possessed a fatal allure capable of pulling anyone into the depths of emotional despair. This was the charm of one of the 3 immortals of the world. Her beauty alone was enough to make her renowned throughout the land. Few men could sit so close to her, perhaps only Li Wei. To meet her soul-stirring gaze at such close range was a test of inner composure. Li Wei secretly practiced the Jade Void breathing technique, his mind clear and serene. "The envoy overestimates me. The world is filled with outstanding talents, and countless individuals of my age surpass me in both intellect and martial mystic path cultivation. Just the titles, Phoenix Terrace Envoy, and Feather Immortal, alone would draw countless suitors to your door. You could choose from the top young cultivators of the 5th tier 5 seas realm." Zhang Ning didn't deny her influence. Confidence radiated from within as she said, "I've been keeping track of your progress. There's no need for false modesty. What truly caught my eye wasn't just your strength, but the indomitable spirit that drives you to risk your life for your sense of duty and principles. The current court desperately needs someone like you. Why do you think I'm that kind of person? Just because of today's battle?" Li Wei felt Zhang Ning was being overly idealistic. Zhang Ning replied, "Burial Immortal Town, the 5 seas realm boundary." "What do you mean?" Li Wei asked. She explained, "I was there. You risked your life for those young martial mystic cultivators of the Zhu Li tribe, fighting to secure them a chance at survival. That's a quality I can't match, which is why I admire you. I had planned to save you at your most vulnerable moment, hoping to recruit you then. But my scheming backfired, and I missed the perfect opportunity." "That's quite honest," Li Wei said. Zhang Ning continued, "The Zhu Li tribe's stage is too small. Why not join the court and fight for the well-being of all living beings in this world?" Li Wei chuckled. "I think you've misunderstood. I'm not that noble. You only saw me fighting bloody battles at the 5 seas realm boundary, but you didn't see me making a fortune in Burial Immortal Town." "Misunderstood. Then what about today?" Zhang Ning asked. Li Wei replied, "Today's harvest was average, and I was in too much of a hurry to loot the corpses. But even these 50 fire ravens, if driven to Huju City, should fetch a decent price, right?" Li Wei's evasive answer left Zhang Ning speechless. She smiled faintly, a rare sight, and gazed into the distance. "Those fire ravens won't even reach Huju City. They'll be confiscated and incorporated into the Imperial Army. Your dreams of wealth are destined to fail." Li Wei was stunned. "How can they do that? Won't you help me?" "I won't help you because I won't even enter Huju City. In Ji Prefecture, revealing my presence openly would be extremely dangerous." Zhang Ning pressed her case again. "Are you sure you won't reconsider? My cultivation is too low. I'm not in a position to worry about the affairs of the world." Li Wei forcibly took the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors and bid farewell, returning to his fire raven. The journey was uneventful. Any rebel scouts they encountered were killed before they could raise the alarm. 30 miles from Huju City, 6 patrol soldiers from the Imperial Army, riding flying beasts, burst through the city's protective array and charged toward them at high speed. The 4 jade boats immediately docked. Zhang Ning stowed her jade boat and spoke to Yin Shi-san. "I have a rough idea of your identity, but it doesn't matter. These are extraordinary times. As long as you have ability, there's a place for you in the Imperial Court. Protecting the concubines of those useless, self-serving officials is a waste of your talent. Right now, I'm being hunted by a powerful enemy. Come with me. Escort me into Chu Prefecture, and I'll give you a higher position." Yin Shi-san glanced at Li Wei and Li Ling, a hesitant look in his eyes. Zhang Ning said, "Don't worry about them. My enemy is incredibly powerful. Their cultivation is still lacking. It would be too dangerous for them to travel with us. Go say your goodbyes. I'll wait for you ahead for a quarter of an hour." Zhang Ning and Zhuang Yu transformed into 2 afterimages and quickly vanished into the darkness. Li Wei heard Yin Shi-san's footsteps behind him and said, "I heard everything. Zhang Ning seems decent. If senior brother Shi-san latches onto her, he'll surely rise to great heights in the future and bring even greater benefits to the hidden sect." Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 11 155 The Second Realm of the Five Seas Realm. 11th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The person she actually wants to recruit is you, Yin-Shi-san said. That shows she has good judgment and a keen eye for talent, Li Wei replied, changing the subject, but she's just a Phoenix Terrace envoy, not the second palace master of Phoenix Terrace. It's already generous of us to let one of the Julie Hidden Sect's Hidden Ones serve her. She's not yet qualified to employ a divine Hidden One. After laughing, Yin-Shi-san said seriously, ahead lies territory under imperial control. Once you pass Huju City, you'll essentially be entering the Central Plains. The Ju's Great Marsh Plains stretch for 10,000 miles ahead, the largest fertile granary in the world, connecting the northern half of Ji Prefecture with Chu and Fu prefectures. By the way, while the northern half of Ji Prefecture is nominally under imperial control, it's long since fallen into the Zuaoqiu clan's grasp. That's the real reason Zhang Ning dares not enter the city as a Phoenix Terrace envoy. Then why does she dare go to Chu Prefecture? Li Wei asked. Yin-Shi-san replied, it's different. If a Phoenix Terrace envoy dies in Chu Prefecture, the Zuaoqiu clan would be held directly responsible. But if a Phoenix Terrace envoy dies in Huju City, the Zuaoqiu clan can easily claim it was the Night City barbarian raiders or the Li clan rebels who did it. The enemies pursuing Zhang Ning must be incredibly powerful. Are you sure you want to take this risk, senior brother Shi-san? Li Wei asked. Yin-Shi-san chuckled. This is the only way Zhang Ning might let me into her inner circle. The Zhang clan's branch in the Lingxiao realm is a colossal entity, capable of rivaling the four great ancient myriad sects with the backing of the imperial court. The power behind them is truly extraordinary. That's good, you have a plan. As the future divine hidden one, I'll give you 3 crimson haze herbs. Li Wei produced the rare medicine and handed it over. What future divine hidden one? You're already a divine hidden one. Yin-Shi-san, as if receiving a priceless treasure, didn't bother with formalities. He quickly pocketed the 3 crimson haze herbs, beaming with delight. I've been stuck at the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm for 2 years. With these, I can break through to the 5th stage 5 Seas realm soon. My chances of survival will improve dramatically. Divine Hidden One, farewell. Yin-Shi-san then pursued Zhang Ning and Zhuang Yu, embarking on his own path of competition. Li Wei watched the 50 fire ravens flying toward Huju City and sighed deeply. Ultimately, he chose not to enter the city with Wu Jiaonan. Instead, he and Li Ling swiftly vanished into the night, disappearing into the Great Marsh Ju's plains. He didn't want to draw attention to himself. If the outside world learned he was involved with Zhang Ning, he'd be branded as an imperial agent, which would cause him immense trouble. Although few people had heard of Li Wei so far, the commotion he caused in Li Prefecture during his surging Spring Realm days was negligible. But his journey to Chu Prefecture was driven by his desire to obtain the immortality pill. How could he possibly seize the pill without first making a name for himself throughout the world? Yuan Tujun, the young city lord of Night City, stood tall and imposing atop a black Night Kirin giant beast, gazing at Huju City 30 miles away. The sun had just risen on the horizon. The giant beast soared through the sky, Yuan Tujun's head beneath a thick layer of clouds, his entire form bathed in the radiant glow of dawn. His handsome features, barely past 20, bore the crescent moon mark of the Night clan's royal bloodline on his brow. His long purple hair and the heavy yin energy radiating from him, coupled with his hawk-like, icy gaze, sent a shiver down Yuan Chao's spine, who stood beside him. Yuan Chao's right arm was nearly crippled, but he had escaped underwater, saving his life. As a 5th stage 5 Seas realm cultivator, his vitality was already incredibly strong. 3 5 Seas realm aberrant humanoids from Night City, skilled in tracking, examined the shoreline before mounting fire ravens and soaring into the sky to report to Yuan Tujun. Among them, an elderly canine aberrant at the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm said, that group didn't enter Huju City. They landed here and split into 2 groups. Yuan Chao said, young city lord, allow me to pursue the other group. This subordinate will redeem himself. The Fire Crow cavalry suffered devastating losses last night. Yuan Tujun turned to Dao Di and Mie Di, who were perched on a golden eagle. Once they pass Huju City, they'll enter Zuaoqiu clan territory. It'll be difficult to track them then. Zhang Ning must still be suffering from the Night Emperor Toad venom. What a missed opportunity to capture her. To have missed seeing the beauty of one of the 3 immortals is truly regrettable. Dao Di, clad in a blue Buddhist robe, his face as white and smooth as jade, said gently, as long as she hasn't entered Chu Prefecture City, there's still a chance. Mie Di replied, her arrival in Chu Prefecture City will undoubtedly disrupt the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival. The Zuaoqiu clan won't welcome her. If we don't make too much of a fuss, they'll likely turn a blind eye. Yuan Tujun chuckled. You Guanshan people certainly have a lot of guts. Mie Di laughed maniacally. Capturing and destroying the feather immortal will make us the talk of the town among all the heavenly prides of the righteous army. At the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, this humble monk seeks fame. Dao Di added, the Dragon Sect inheritor has already gone to Huju City, where the Sui Branch Hall, one of the 6 major branch halls of the Sui Sect, is located. The Sui Sect's young generation of experts have gathered there after leaving Li Prefecture. With their help, our chances of hunting down Zhang Ning will greatly increase. Then mobilize the forces of the San Chen Palace as well. I'll handle this. Yuan Tujun finally turned his gaze to Yuan Chao, I'll give you one more chance. Lead a team and go after the other group. I'm very interested in those 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors you mentioned. Thank you for your trust, young lord. This subordinate will not fail your command and will bring back the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors to present to you. Yuan Chao breathed a long sigh of relief. The pressure Yuan Tujun exerted on him was even greater than that of a Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator, because he knew all too well what a capricious and ruthless figure the Night City young lord was. In the blood-mud space, Li Wei sat cross-legged, surrounded by rippling spatial fluctuations. Bright, ethereal spiritual qi surged through his pores with each breath. With every breath, the grade of his spiritual qi improved significantly. This process continued for 671 cycles before the spiritual qi finally settled, its grade no longer increasing. Finally, I've broken through and officially entered the 5th C realm, 2nd realm. My second qi C, 63 squares. Over the past few days, Li Wei had been recuperating his lung lobe while also strengthening it. On the 3rd day after parting with Zhang Ning, he consumed 2 crimson haze herbs, finally breaking through to his second qi C. During the breakthrough, his spiritual qi underwent repeated refinement, transforming into 3rd level qi. I wonder what form the battle intent cultivated through the heaven-turning palm seal will take once it materializes. Standing up, Li Wei stepped into a specific footwork, clasped his hands into palms, and assumed the starting stance of the heaven-turning palm seal. Whoosh! The battle intent materialized around him, as if something invisible was swirling around him, stirring up wisps of wind. It was intangible, invisible, requiring integration with his spirit and spiritual qi to become fully manifest. Normally, a martial mystic cultivator's battle intent would take the form of their own figure, a mystical manifestation of their spiritual battle techniques. Only a few martial mystic cultivators, those who inherited battle intent from their ancestors or cultivated special law scriptures and martial mystic techniques, would possess unique battle intent. The battle intent of a 3rd realm martial mystic cultivator in the 5 Cs realm typically stood about 10 feet tall. 4th stage martial mystic cultivators, battle intent reached approximately 20 feet. 5th stage 5 Cs realm martial mystic cultivators, battle intent stood around 30 feet tall. Of course, a 5th stage master who cultivated their wind mansion into a 6th C would see their battle intent grow by another 10 feet. In Li Wei's eyes, battle intent resembled the ancient Wuxia Chinese myth of law manifesting the world, where the higher one's cultivation, the larger their form. Li Wei repeatedly practiced his palm technique, gradually merging his essence, qi, and spirit with his battle intent. Boom! Within the blood-mud space, a powerful vortex of wind energy erupted from Li Wei's body, spreading outward in all directions. An awe-inspiring aura was born. At the vortex's center, surrounded by radiant light, a majestic figure in a Taoist robe appeared. The figure was ethereal and otherworldly, yet exuded an overwhelming presence. His white beard, like a brilliant, dazzling waterfall, flowed down his chin. The battle intent stood 10 feet tall, its form somewhat indistinct, making it impossible to discern the Taoist figure's features. One hand held a seal, the other a bell, resembling a deity enshrined in a temple, capable of compelling mortals to prostrate themselves in worship. Could this be the founding ancestor of the Chan sect? Li Wei's heart trembled, and a flood of thoughts surged through his mind. Could there truly be a lost mythological history on Earth? Or perhaps, this mythological history didn't originate on Earth but merely spread to it. Just as the Fusong divine tree and Yingzhou weren't located on Earth, perhaps this was the same. His battle intent is too ethereal, and his spiritual qi isn't dense enough. He's only slightly stronger than martial mystic cultivators at his level or 1 realm above. His second qi C is 63 cubic meters in size. If he cultivates diligently, it will take at least half a year to fill it. However, if he goes to a prefectural giant city and uses a heavenly law earth spring, he can speed up the process considerably. Li Wei's gaze fell on Zhenhai Guanwu, seated on the spiritual jade boat. Perhaps refining qi ascension pills was the fastest way to improve his cultivation. The path to the 3rd realm of the 5 Cs realm seemed distant. Li Wei mentally calculated, concluding that his only options for immediate improvement were golden spring bone tempering and cultivating the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors. If he could refine his bones to the minor golden bone stage using the golden spring, his physical strength alone would rival that of an average 5th stage 5 Cs realm martial mystic cultivator. Combined with his spiritual qi cultivation and spiritual artifacts, his combat power would be formidable. More importantly, with the minor golden bone, his physical defense would increase dramatically. Even if he couldn't defeat a powerful opponent, survival would be guaranteed. In the months since leaving Burial Immortal Town, Li Wei had consumed a large quantity of golden spring. Of his 206 bones, 137 had achieved the gilded surface state. He inquired about the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperor's conditions. They reported that while killing enemies on the ship had helped vent their inner fire, it still burned within them, making it impossible to consume Zaihei for now. Li Wei gave each of them a 200-year-old precious herb, all earned in Burial Immortal Town. There was no help for it. These 7 little ones were invaluable in large-scale battles, but they were always flirting with Zhang Ning, which made Li Wei feel threatened. Now that he was flush with wealth, he naturally treated them generously. If he could quickly feed them to a level where their combat strength matched the 5th stage 5 Seas realm, he could strut through Chu Prefecture City as an insect tamer. With my current wealth, selling off some of my resources shouldn't be a problem to buy millennial essence herbs. Ideally, it should be ice attributed. That way, it can both accelerate Little Seven's growth and neutralize Zaihei's fiery nature. Li Wei made up his mind. He glanced at Zhenhai Guanwu, who was meditating and cultivating. Forget this, trial romance, he thought, she probably doesn't even care. She's just a cultivation fanatic. No matter how much she wanted to return to the Yang realm, the ancient heavenly emperor's aloof and indifferent heart was her true nature. How could a person ever truly defy their own heart? Whoosh. Ripples of energy spread outward in concentric circles. Li Wei left the blood-mud space and returned to the carriage. This was a luxurious exotic beast carriage, its cabin over 10 feet long and wide. Li Wei had purchased it at great expense and joined a group of Ji Prefecture talents also heading to Chu Prefecture City for the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, forming a lavish carriage convoy that traveled along the wide, smooth official road. After passing Huju City, the atmosphere of the world changed. The chaos and disorder vanished, replaced by prosperity and flourishing. They no longer encountered righteous armies or barbarian bandits. It seemed everyone knew they had entered the Zuaoqiu clan's territory and were giving them due respect. In the center of the carriage stood a sandalwood table. The floor and seats were covered with white fox fur, and the walls were lavishly decorated. Li Wei folded up the ghost banner he had used to isolate the carriage from the outside world and turned her gaze to Li Ling, who had been guarding the carriage the entire time. Have we entered Chu Prefecture yet? Qi Wangshu said we can reach Giant Marsh Ju's city before nightfall. Li Ling said, once we cross Bingju's, we'll officially enter Chu Prefecture. Qi Wangshu enjoyed high prestige among the talented young people in the caravan. He was known for his generosity and served as an absolute leader. According to him, his Qi clan was a strong power in Ji Prefecture, and his clan's patriarch held a prominent position within the Zuaoqiu clan. Once they reached Chu Prefecture City, he would take care of all the arrangements. The setting sun cast long shadows as dusk approached. 8 magnificent exotic beast carriages finally arrived at Bingju's lake, renowned throughout the Lingxiao realm. The vast lake stretched for over 1,600 miles from north to south and 2,000 miles from east to west, forming an inland freshwater sea. Legend had it that it was formed when a spiritual qi acupoint from the martial mystic ancestor's body fell to earth, transforming into this mystical body of water. Chu Prefecture City was built on the northern shore of Bingju's, still a long journey from Giant Marsh Ju's city, where they had arrived today. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.